Hello everyone, Professor Toybox here, along with Agent Romanov, aka the Black Widow, and we're back in my Avengers Endgame-inspired toy box. We saw this once before when I demonstrated my Infinity Gauntlet power disc that I'd got for my birthday, and I had a viewer request from Cash Nasty Jr. on YouTube who wanted to take a closer look at this and have me do a tutorial on how this is put together. So I've come in here and disabled the smoke so that you can get a good look at this, and you can pause this at any time if you want to see how this is put together. The textures, the skybox, these all come from the World War Hulk power discs, and a lot of the purple textures that are in here are also part of the power disc set. They're the customizable pieces in the plants drawer. And they're set to the World War Hulk textures, as well as the racetrack pieces that I'm using for the road. And the rest of these, like these little red buildings and the piles of rubble in the street, these are from building sets 2. And then down here, I've got the boss battle spawner set up. And all of the buildings around it, for the most part, are again the customizable pieces in the plants drawer. And I've got 3 enemy generators set up. This one's connected to locators along this section of the toy box. This one is connected to locators on this end of the toy box. And I've got another enemy generator over here, connected to these locators. And all of the enemy generators and the boss battle spawner are initiated from this trigger area. So when the player walks off of the starting point in the level, we come into each of the enemy wave generators, and when the player exits this trigger area, we generate the wave and we start the boss battle spawner. And of course I've also got it hooked up to the logic gate over here so that when the player exits this trigger area, it'll input to the gate. The gate will turn around and output to the trigger area to deactivate it. So we only do this one time. The smoke is a little bit trickier for this. In order to get it to look right, what I did was I have a level starter down here, and I disabled this. But the level starter will basically, when you hook this up and catalyze it, you'll come over here to this time delayer and start the delay. And the time delayer, when the delay is completed, will invoke the randomizer. And the randomizer is hooked up to 10 effects generators. Each one works the same way. It's just a different random trigger signal here. So for the first one, for example, when random trigger 1 goes off, it's going to play one time the smoke and the large area smoke. And each of these effects generators do the same thing. They're just hooked up to different locators at different places around the level, as you can see here, and I'll show you where each of these is hooked up. So at 1 second intervals, a different effects generator will kick off, and it'll play one time the effects smoke. That one's hooked up over there. That one is over there. So different locators in different places around the toy box. And so this way you don't have a constant amount of smoke coming from all over the toy box at the same time, which helps make it so it's not quite so foggy. This way you get a burst of smoke, and then it kind of clears a little bit, and then another burst of smoke, and it's just at any given time you got 3 or 4 bursts of smoke happening in here. And the other thing is once the smoke goes off, the effects generator will turn around, and for each of the 10 random trigger signals, it'll come back to this time delayer and start the delay again. So this way, as I said, it keeps it going, so you have constant smoke going off in different places around the toy box. And I'm not going to take the time to exit out of this toy box and come back in, but I can drop a quick button and turn it on. So you can see how that works from a sky angle. In the video last time with Iron Man, you can see how it looks from the ground as you're playing through this. But in case you want to see how this looks from a little bit different perspective, when we press this button here in a second, I'll go ahead and hook it up to this time delayer to start the delay, and that'll kick it off. Whoops, I want to make sure I'm over here over the ground. There we go. So we'll come over here and hit the button, and that'll start the delay. And now there's some smoke going off over there, and you can see the time delayer just keeps going off because the randomizer keeps triggering it. And so that smoke started, and then it dissipated, and now that area is clear. Now some smoke started up over here, and it started up again over there. So this is just a little bit more, to me, realistic, and it just doesn't fill the entire level with smoke. I didn't want it to be too blinding to the player. I just wanted the effect of the smoke briefly to set the ambience without making the whole level obscured. So that's how that works. So as you start the level, again, the level starter triggers that. So you're standing inside this trigger area, the smoke starts, but nothing happens until you walk out of the trigger area, and then the enemies spawn. And for this wave generator over here, the wave is configured to drop down some Sakaran foot soldiers and an elite and one flying guy. So that's kind of at the beginning here, and then a little bit tougher set of enemies come in a little bit further into the level at these locators. And I'll show you which enemies I've got for that. So a couple of foot soldiers and a couple of flying guys this time and another elite. And then for the third wave generator over here, some really tough guys come in here in the middle of the toy box. So while you're fighting those guys, these guys spawn in and they start coming towards you. So we've got several elite guys, a couple of gunners, and this really big guy. And then of course the trigger area will kick off the boss spawner at the very beginning as well. And I use the green goblin down here as my stand-in for Thanos. And so he'll come in the middle of the level, and normally he'll stay down here, but sometimes he'll kind of wander out a little bit and be hanging out over this way, as we saw in my last video. So anyhow, that's the Avengers Endgame video that I had put together. And again, this wasn't really so much an adventure, it was just a way that I could try out my Infinity Gauntlet power disc and see how that had worked. Agent Romanov is only level 12, and if I try to level her up here a bit, I'm going to run into some trouble even with some extra skills, because this is going to be way beyond her skill level. So if you want to see me play through this, you can watch my Iron Man video from June 26th on my birthday and see him play through this. And for now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel or sign up for my blog to see what we do next time. And you can find build tips and logic diagrams for the different challenges that we make. I'll make sure I put a logic diagram up for this video on my blog entry for this. And until the next time, this is Agent Romanov and I signing off from the Avengers Endgame toy box.